Hi there, and welcome along to the Gersnet Podcast, the totally independent Rangers show, which is made by fans for fans, where all of our content is absolutely free. And as always, you'll know by now that it's not just the free podcast that we have here at Gersnet, but if you head over to our website at www.gersnet.co.uk, you can find a whole host of really great content and excellent material there, including a very friendly discussion forum, plenty of articles, a history archive, match previews, match reviews, all sorts of good stuff. So please do head over to the website and have a look at that. There's no sort of fancy bells and whistles on this pod. There's no graphics, no nice theme tunes and intros and outros or anything like that, because Frankie's away doing whatever he does on a Tuesday night. So it's just myself and Alec to have a wee look ahead at tomorrow's, I would say crucial, but given how crap St Johnstone have been this season, it doesn't feel all that crucial. But tomorrow's home tie against St Johnstone. We'll also have a wee look at the Europa League draw, which was made yesterday. If you're new to the pod, then thank you so much for joining us. It's just gone 9 o'clock on Tuesday, the 14th of December. If you're joining us live, then thank you so much for giving us your Tuesday evening. As always, the podcast is available for download wherever you get your podcast from, and that is including Acast, YouTube, iTunes, Castbox, Stitcher, and also on Spotify. Fabulous. Right. I think I've managed to set everything up properly. I think we're recording. I think we're going live. It seems to be going live on my YouTube here anyway. So I think that's a good point to bring in Alex Anderson. Alex, is there a better man to talk about a tie such as Rangers versus Borussia Dortmund?
Ian Duff, yeah, he's really good at European stuff. So you should have got him on, but you said no fancy bells and whistles, so you needed somebody in line with that kind of setup, that kind of mise en scène. So yeah, you've got a super down to earth, grim basics me, and I just want to thank you, Ross. It's for taking the respite care for Colin usually looking after me on these pods, but it's good of you to step in every now and then and give him a bit of rest, mate. How are you doing yourself?
I'm not too bad. The last time I was on this pod, as we were just sort of chatting about before we came live on air there, last time I was on this show was 10 days ago on the main Sunday show, and I was bragging about my forthcoming trip to Lyon to watch Rangers play. The next day, that all went a bit wrong.
Ross, things were said during that podcast that, and if I could take them back, I would take them back. I don't know what Stuart Weir's saying for himself, but I definitely, I wished bad on you through sheer jealousy about the fact I wasn't going, and I had no idea, mate, that the bad was going to happen. So official apology to you for that. And when I heard what happened, I was pretty devastated, and also worrying if I'd ever be allowed back on a pod in your company, mate. But,
no, of course.
No, that was absolutely horrific, absolutely brutal.
It certainly wasn't your fault, unless you sort of moonlight as the French Minister of the Interior. But it's just one of those really unfortunate things that, for anyone who's not aware yet, the tickets were revoked by the French authorities sort of Monday, Tuesday of last week for policing reasons, I think, due to this light festival. So I went in a huff, cancelled my trains, cancelled my Airbnb, tried to get some money back off that. The next day, they reinstated the tickets. All my pals hadn't cancelled their hotels, hadn't cancelled their trains. They all still went. I was in the group chats with them all, seeing all the pictures of them at the pub. And I took a rager for about 3 or 4 days, didn't speak to anyone, hated it. But I'm back now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we know Rangers' fate in the playoff round of the Europa League. So it's a new structure this year. Teams that finished second in their Europa League groups will be playing against the team who dropped down from the Champions League. And Rangers have been given what could either be seen as the best draw possible and a very glamorous tie, or the worst draw possible and possibly the hardest team we could have got. First things first, it's pretty much a Champions League last 16, it looks like, with some of the teams that have dropped out from the Champions League and some of the teams that have come through from the Europa League. What did you make of the strength of the teams we could have got?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely smashing. It's one. I think we deserve this, Ross. I think all the fans, that's what was so horrible about what happened to yourself, and there'll be thousands of other Rangers fans in the same situation last week. Trip to Lyon is the least we deserve for after everything we've been through since 2012, and I think this is again. When you're looking at the draw yesterday, you're going to get Barcelona. You could get Barcelona, and you're seeing the teams that we can't get. It's like Napoli, and it's absolutely. This is top-notch stuff, and it feels like Borussia Dortmund. First time I saw them in the flesh was in the Champions League, season before they actually won the thing. So this feels like, it's a fantastic kind of, apart from anything else, apart from the intricacies of how we got on against them and, would we rather get somebody else or whatever, it's just a kind of we're back moment. It's one of those, we've been getting more and more of them through Europe the past few years, we haven't done under Steven Gerrard, but to have Borussia Dortmund, it literally feels that we're back, because they are now, the time they come to Ibrox, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm saying you should have had Ian Duff on, he'll know these things, he's written books about these things, better books than the ones I've tried to write about these things. I think this will be the first time we've ever played a club in 10 competitive matches. We've met Bayern Munich, the team that are above, Dortmund, the only team above Dortmund in the Bundesliga at the moment. We've met them 5 times in Europe, and this is the 5th time we've met Dortmund. I don't think we've not met anybody else as many times as that. But one of the games we played against Bayern, of course, was the 1967 final of the Cup Winners' Cup. So that's one match. So if you want to break it down that way, this is actually, it's always been home and away. Anytime we meet Dortmund, this is good. The time they come to Ibrox, it'll be the first club we've ever played 10 times into double figures in competitive European matches. And that's quite a thing. It's also one of the reasons why Huffy Big Stupid Me was gutted when we drew Dortmund yesterday. The entire Rangers support on Twitter's going, yes, this is magic. We've got Dortmund, but I've got this insane kind of, wacky football fans, what are we like? That's probably going to end up being a feature on A View from the Terrace or something like that. But I like to see all European finalists. There's been like 103 clubs have reached the finals, European club finals. I've seen like 72 of them or something in the flesh. And we couldn't get anybody yesterday that I hadn't already seen, any European finalists that I hadn't already seen. But Dortmund, the crazy thing was, because of time moves differently. When you're just ticking off football, it moves differently. I saw Dortmund in 95, 96 when we got into the Champions League. And I saw them the last time we played them in the 99-2000, when he put us out in the 99-2000 UEFA Cup. I remember us playing in the 82-83 UEFA Cup. That was just before I started going to European matches. And I'll never forget, it was in the days of, we drew 0-0 over in Dortmund, and we're playing them at Ibrox. And this is the days, Ross, you won't remember this, because you wouldn't have been around. But you would watch the game, the highlights that night. It wasn't on live, nothing was on live, bar cup finals and internationals, and I didn't know the score for the second leg, and I was resolved not to, I was still a kid playing football outside, and my next door neighbour come down, Big Tam, I'll never forget Big Tam Robertson saying to me, are you watching it on Sports Scene, or do you want to know the score? I said, no, I don't want to know, Tam, don't want to know, I'm going to watch it on telly tonight. It's just, that's fine, but you'll be pleased. Thanks, Tam, that's tremendous. Even at 12, 13 years old, whatever I was then, it was just like, I think I've kind of worked out what happened there, Tam, but it was a night when David Cooper scored one and set up the other for Derek Johnstone with a right foot cross from David Cooper. Absolutely smashing. And we've got a magical history with Dortmund. We played them also, I wasn't at that one, but we played them in the 66-67 Cup Winners' Cup as well. Was the first time we played them. They were the holders. They'd won the thing at Hampden against Liverpool. It was their first ever European trophy. And we put them out the following season on our way to the final to lose it to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich in Bavaria, in Nuremberg. We lost that final, and then Dortmund would go on and win their European Cup at Bayern Munich's ground. And this is all the kind of rabbit holes you can go down with these teams that you've played so often. But because of all this, my stupid reaction was, oh no, them again. And it wasn't until one of my mates said to me, what do you mean, again? We've played them for 22 years. It's just like, well, to me, it's just, we're playing them constantly, because they're one of the teams we've played more often. We've now officially have played more often than anybody else. But it's just a massive, massive tie. And I think it's a huge reward for the whole club. And we've got a chance.
Well, yeah, we have a chance. You'd never say never. That was probably, Barcelona aside, probably the hardest tie we could have got. We'll have a wee look at their team in a moment. But I'm also one of those guys that goes, they wouldn't have wanted us. They wouldn't have wanted to draw us. We don't want to come to Ibrox. We've got the new manager bounce. We've won 5 out of his first 6 games. We drew the other one that was away at Lyon. You can see the improvements we've made already. They wouldn't have wanted us either. No one's saying that we're sitting here as favourites for this tie. But never say never. I think it's hugely exciting, and as you say, this is the moment that you look and you go, we're back as big players on the European stage. We've played Porto, we've played Benfica. big clubs, undoubtedly big clubs with massive European pedigree. But over the last 20, 30 years, certainly the last decade, Borussia Dortmund are a bona fide member of the European elite. And to be playing them, not in a qualifier, not in a group stage, but in knockout competition post-Christmas as well, absolutely wonderful. It really is. I know you've been having a wee look at Borussia Dortmund, and we'll talk about them a lot, I'm sure, over the next 6 to 8 weeks as we lead up to this tie. But a quick rundown of maybe the danger men and the kind of style that they're playing. I know they've got this big lurch type boy up front who's setting the world on fire at the moment.
Erling Bratwurst Haaland. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing really to fear there. He scored he came on in his debut against Augsburg. He came off the bench and scored the hat trick. You know, this is mid-season. He joined them like in the winter transfer window. Comes off the bench in a Bundesliga match and bangs in a hat trick. Nothing like settling in slowly. You know, he's an absolute phenomenon. And one of the again, my stupid reaction yesterday, my kind of infantile, anal retentive reaction was, I don't want to see Dortmund again. I want to see somebody I've never seen. But you know, it's the same with Haaland. I was like, I just noticed last week, it must have been on Sky Sports News, that I think his contract's coming to an end, maybe this season, or he's going to activate a release clause. But I just kind of caught a bit of a headline, you know, before I was actually any direct interest in Dortmund. Seeing that he was on his way, and I just thought, well, maybe someone, you know, surely you've got to trigger that clause. Somebody's got to come in and get him in January, you know, and then so we don't have to come up against them in February. But no, I don't want him to go. You want to see the best, you know, you want to see the best players, and I think big Norwegian that he is, I think there'll be a wee bit of a Scandinavian challenge. I think Philip Hollander will be working out extra hard in the gym and what have you, and getting himself ready for that one. He will fancy that, as will our entire defence. And I like even if you lose Haaland, I mean, they lost Jadon Sancho. He went last season after they won the German Cup. I think they beat RB Leipzig. They hammered I think Sancho and Haaland scored a couple each in the German Cup final against RB Leipzig, who are no mugs. But we've got Jude Bellingham, who's a kind of enfant terrible of English football, like English international scene. They signed him from Birmingham, and he's been highly experienced in the Champions League already. Alex Witsel, the Belgian international, who is one mean dude. He's probably responsible for the most horrific tackle I've ever seen in my life. Catch that one on YouTube, folks. It's in the Belgian derby match, Sander Liège against Anderlecht. He absolutely just basically snaps the guy's leg horrifically. But he's a cracking footballer as well, but he's not to mess with. And we've just seen Jerome Boateng. I don't know if it's practically his debut for Lyon, playing against us at Ibrox, 2014 World Cup winner with Germany. And his defensive partner in the Maracana that night when they won the World Cup was one Matt Hummels, who's playing for Dortmund. So who have I missed out? I have to actually put this. I'm going to put this as a kind of quiz question. Thomas Meunier, who's a right back for the Belgian national team and Germany, absolutely fantastic player. The Champions League final, of course, Dortmund are coming down from the Champions League. The Champions League final this season was supposed to be played in the Christovsky Stadium, St Petersburg. Well, it is going to be played there, but Meunier will no longer be taking part. But if someone can tell me, I don't know if you can see live comments or anything like that, Ross, but if somebody out there can tell me, and I'll reveal at the end of the show, if we don't get any answers, what has Thomas Meunier done in the Christovsky Stadium, which for the life of me, I can't think of another player, certainly another European player, hasn't done this. It's international football. But the Christovsky Stadium, St. Petersburg, Thomas Meunier has achieved something, I think. I don't think any other Europeans achieved it. I'm going to go a deep dive in this myself and try and research it and find out if anybody else in the world has managed something Thomas Meunier has managed. But for the sake of the god of football trivia, it would be absolutely magic if he could have played in the European Champions League final in the same stadium as well. It might have made it even more interesting or boring, depending on your kind of view of these things. But what I'm trying to say otherwise is they're just a team packed full of talent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They took a severe doing off Ajax. Everybody did in the Champions League group stages. And Ajax, we just took their main man, Dave Voss, who, as we know, he was, even though he's in the youth team, he probably ran all things Ajax that night. He's probably responsible for what happened to them. But they didn't go on well against a big Dutch side. What can I tell you? And we have now got a big Dutch management influence, so they won't fancy it. They won't fancy it as much as they maybe could have against somebody else. But I don't know. I think we could have the measure of them in a few aspects, Ross. I don't think it's just about we've got the glamour tie. Let's enjoy it because we're on our way out. And the thing that we've all noticed about their record against Dortmund is they've never won at Ibrox. And we've only lost once in Dortmund. And the thing I have to say, while I'm rabbiting on here, I'm down a rabbit hole. I got my jabs today. I got my booster jab. And they're saying that it could be there could be like bad side effects. But if I take a whitey during this broadcast, if I collapse, it's nothing to do with that. It's because my head is absolutely frazzled with the kind of almost incestuous trivia we have with Borussia Dortmund. We're playing St Johnstone tomorrow night. Right? Tomorrow night we play St Johnstone. But the last time they were at Ibrox, we were beating them and they equalised in injury time through putting their goalkeeper up for a corner. He knocked it on, Chris Kane scores, and they beat us in penalty. Yesterday we drew Borussia Dortmund, but the last time we played them, they sent up Jens Lehmann for the corner in injury time. He completely sclaffs it, but it falls to Freddie Bobic. They equalise and they beat us on penalties to put us out that UEFA Cup. We had a Dutch manager that night, and that's a coincidence, but no. Even better, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, or even worse, he misses one of our penalties that night.
Yeah.
The other guy misses, Claudio Reyna. He misses the decisive penalty. Giovanni van Bronckhorst is godfather to Claudio Reyna's son, who's called Giovanni Reyna, and he plays for Borussia Dortmund. You know what I mean? So who missed the penalty for Dortmund that night? Christian Nerlinger, who then signs for Rangers. This is before we even get into Stefan Klos wasn't. It was Thomas Meyer was on loan to us at that time. Stefan Klos wasn't in goals, thank God. The man who'd won the Champions League with Dortmund and came to Rangers. But it got to the point where I was looking up stuff last night to do with this game, and Claudio Reyna's wife's called Danielle Egan, I think it is, and I'm thinking, God, Claudio married Dan Egan. Who scored for Brøndby against Liverpool at Anfield for Steven Gerrard played before he signed for us. So it's getting a bit out of hand, the history of this. But no, I think we've got a chance, mate. I think we've got an outside chance. If nothing else, if we hit me all these stats, I'll be bored to death.
We'll just wheel you out before the game. It is fascinating, though. I mean, it is. It's a wonderful tie, and it's a long way away, and there's a lot of football to be played before then. Hopefully we'll have Philip Hollander back, because Connor Goldson and Calvin Bassey going up against Haaland does give me a bit of fear, but I think it'll be a wonderful occasion. And like I say, they wouldn't have wanted us. They wouldn't have wanted us either. So let's have it. Like I say, I've booked my flights to this. I've booked my hotel. I haven't learnt my lesson from Lyon. I'm just hopeful that the Germans do me a favour. Maybe if they're listening to this, they can pick me on me for my Lyon story. But yeah, do us a favour and let us go. But speaking of games that we might have an outside chance of, we'll segue to St Johnstone. St Johnstone come to visit Ibrox tomorrow evening, 7:45. I think it's only available on Rangers TV if you're not able to go to the game. Alec, we had the press conference from the manager, and it seems pretty apparent. We had no Ryan Kent, no Ryan Jack, and no Kemar Roof for the game against Hearts. Certainly for Ryan Jack and Kemar Roof, it seems that that's probably going to be the case for a little while longer. Do you think we might expect to have Ryan Kent back tomorrow evening?
Kent,
yes.
Ryan Kent. Did Ryan Kent not play Sunday? Aye.
Did he?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm.
Okay.
Was it not Ryan Kent that was jumping out the way of the ball when?
You're right. I'm thinking of.
I'll tell you what's happened there. I'll tell you what's happened, Ross. When we played Dundee, we had that your man himself, Sakala, going down the left-hand side in place of Ryan Kent.
That's the one.
So Sakala appears again on Sunday, and you're thinking, oh, Ryan Kent's going to get dropped. No, he's got him down the right-hand side. I think just now it looks like we're going to manage well without without Roof and Jack. We're getting on absolutely fine just now. But I don't, as I've said before, especially in a kind of schedule like this, you need as many players as possible available. Ryan Jack is talking about, I think, coming back hopefully in the new year, maybe after the winter break. But Roof is looking to have back before that. Just now, we're in one of those moments just now, and I've got to be honest, Ross, it's almost too good to be true for me at the moment. I'm waiting for something to go wrong, which sounds terribly pessimistic, but I think I'm going back in my word as well. On Friday night, I was in the preview pod for the Hearts game. I was saying to Colin, I think if we win at Tynecastle, that's it. New manager bounce is over. We've made a statement. Away we go. We've arrived, and Gio's just not going to stop really. But of course, as soon as we did win at Tynecastle, I thought, no, something's still going. This is just going too well almost. There's not, you're waiting for a kind of rough ride somewhere to test it out. And the problem we've got just now is if we drop any points anywhere, Celtic keep winning. Fair play to them. They're doing the business. They keep winning. It's going to look a hell of a lot worse than it is, because immediately, we don't know what's going to. Celtic are getting a few injuries themselves, and for all they've had a good run of form, I feel they're due to hit a bit of a kind of sticky patch as well. Bedding in so many new players does eventually catch up with you, as we well know. But I would like us to have as many players back as possible, and we might, especially just now, the way we're using Glenn Kamara. I think he's utterly vital to everything we're doing. He was utterly vital before Gio arrived, but he's particularly vital to the way Gio plays things, the way he sets his teams out. I feel as if he needs a hand almost. Maybe right, and I can imagine Ryan Jack doing the job that Glenn Kamara does, just as well as Steve Davis, also slotting in there when needed, when he gets back to kind of full fitness. But I am. Just the way Sakala and Morelos played together on Sunday, though, it's just given me such hope. They were absolutely sensational. I don't think we knew Sakala we're finding new aspects to him all the time. And the thing I'm loving with Gio is we can't really predict him. Here we are on the podcast trying to work out, what's he going to do? And we don't know. And if we don't know, the opposition definitely don't know.
Yeah.
Against Dundee the other week, we're resting Ryan Kent, resting Steve Davis, and you're thinking, right, that's fine. They're definitely going to play in Leon, but Steve Davis only gets a half and doesn't turn out against Hearts. And then Sakala, he's left at home. You're thinking, why is he getting left at home? Because Ryan Kent's obviously going to play down the left against Hearts. No, he puts him in the right, and not only does he put him in the right, he's absolutely fantastic. So I've just heard a wee noise from my computer. I'm going to plug it back in. You can fill a gap, mate.
Fair enough. Well, the thing is, it is difficult to predict what's going to happen, and I can't even remember that Ryan Kent played at the weekend, so there's no point asking me. But I want to kind of probe this Sakala Morelos thing a wee bit more, and we've spoken about it a couple of times since Gio has come in. But I felt that Sunday against Hearts was an excellent example of how well those two are playing together. There's actually a really good clip going around of Morelos doing his trademark moody Alfredo celebration, where he looks like he's throwing a strop after he's just scored a wonderful goal, and then he sees Sakala, he breaks out into a big cheesy grin, and they seem to have some kind of connection. And whilst Morelos is doing his best work in the box, as we know he does, and Sakala is chipping in from wider areas, it just seems to work. I mean, you're a man who has a lot more footballing intelligence than I do. What is it about that partnership that works so well?
I can maybe memorise a few stats every now and then, Ross, but if you ever see me try to play football, my football intelligence is definitely it's minimal. No, I think, as I've said before, I think there's a bit of a problem between Morelos and Roof. I think he loves playing with Sakala. I don't know. You're talking there about Alfie's his celebrations. And also just everything that happened when he gets subbed off, he looks like he wants to kill everybody and everything. It's hardly even shaking hands with Scott Wright or whoever who's coming on for him. And yet by the end of the game, there's been no more goals scored. So he's still kind of the centre of attention. And he's out there being also caring about Glenn Kamara's possible injury. And he's a few jambles are having a go at him. He's up at the Rangers fans, kind of smacking the badge and all that. And just purely to wind up the kind of abusive jambles. And it's just part of that whole kind of spoilt toddler thing that I absolutely love about Alfie. He's a wee shit at times, but it's still hilarious, and you can imagine how a serious dude like Ruth, who's played in England and what have you, comes into the dressing room, and Alfredo's a bit kind of, this guy could take my place. This is just all supposition in my deranged head, but Sakala, and I've got to be honest, I find it's a kind of trope of white attitudes towards, especially Africans, people from Africa. This kind of, he's so smiling, he's so happy, and it's a bit ropey. Culturally, a lot of the attitudes towards Fashion Sakala, but there's no denying he's just there to please. He's there, he's to get the head down. He doesn't look like a guy who's going to ruffle any feathers, and he's quite willing to work hard and what have you. But whatever the reason, I saw at Livingston the way they linked up the other week against Dundee. The flipping two of them were absolutely tremendous. They were frightening at times. Sakala piling through them. That's why I couldn't believe that he's then on the left. He's on the right hand side on Sunday, and he's even better. If anything, the first goal. I mean, he's bringing the ball down quite nicely, quite a nice touch and all that. But it's kind of basic stuff. But he's got a standing start against Devlin, and he just inside the box, and he takes him to the cleaners. He just walks past him like he's not there. He's then faced up by two more Hearts defenders, and there's a third coming in, and he just picks out Alfie, who has made the run for him. He just stands here cool as you like and just picks out Alfredo brilliantly. And Alfredo obviously has moved towards it because he knows what's going to happen. And there's a lovely, for guys of my age, as soon as I saw Ryan Kent jumping up like that to get out the way of the ball going in, it just reminded me of Davy Cooper scoring in the 1977-78 League Cup final against Celtic, where Derek Johnson leaps up out the way as well, and it just added an extra kind of aesthetic, piquancy to the goal. It was gorgeous. But I think that's just one of the many things I think that Gio's done since he arrived, taking something that was there and was already good and promising, and just upped it a level and made it suddenly feel like Fashion Sakala isn't an add-on or somebody we're just hoping works out well anymore. He's a vital part of the club, and he's really, really working for us. And his whole game has improved Alfredo's game as well. So it's really exciting, Ross.
Absolutely. Well, let's turn that attention to St Johnstone, a team very much struggling for form. 3 wins all season. They've lost their last 3, 1 win in the last 5, I think. Importantly, bottom of the table. And they've only scored 9 goals all season, albeit they have only conceded 16. So maybe let's start there. What do Rangers need to do to break down a defence that isn't actually giving up that many goals? I
know this is it, isn't it? We're playing the best team in Scotland last season, who won that domestic treble of Scottish Cup, League Cup, and making the top 6 in the final day of the season. That's the well-worn path to glory in Scotland. We're already doing better than them in the Cups this season, though, because we went out in the League Cup a whole 24 hours later than they did this season. But they are a pain in the arse, St Johnstone, to us. Yeah. They have been since we come back up top. Put us out, was it League Cup, I think, midweek under Warburton, and they beat us in the league. I remember one dark Saturday around about this time of year as well. Tommy Wright was the manager, and last season they just get worse and worse for us. We beat them 3-0 at Ibrox early on. Then we beat them 3-0 up at McDermott in a smashing wee display, a really easy win that we actually had to fight hard for physically. There was a lot of kind of rough stuff going on, but we got it out of them on the day at the middle of a really busy schedule at this time of year. And then in the February, I was thinking about this today. I couldn't really remember. Hadji scored the only goal of the game. We beat them at Ibrox February time. And I don't remember much about it, but I think that was the night that a lot of fans couldn't get on. Rangers TV kept cutting out, because obviously the stadium was shut, we're still in the middle of shutdown. And it was a kind of strange atmosphere of, because we'd all been communicating as a support on social media, knowing that guys weren't getting on to Rangers TV while I was watching, it was almost a bit like you're in the ground, but your mates aren't. It was quite a weird thing, and it affected the concentration, but we beat them 1-0, and then of course that league game where we're beating them with a kind of reserve team. We'd already won the title. I was obsessed with us finishing the season getting this defensive record. We can only afford to concede 2 more goals to get this British defensive record and to go unbeaten. Other folk were more interested in winning the Scottish Cup, probably quite rightly, and we were playing St Johnstone the following Sunday. We're playing the midweek, and we're playing again at Sunday at Ibrox. We're up at McDermott, and we gave them basically a penalty with the last kick of the ball. 94th minute. and then they come to Ibrox, and it's that Scottish Cup match where we can the only domestic side to avoid defeat over 90 minutes at Ibrox last season, and then just an absolute horror show in that last minute. Yeah. I don't really know what happened that day, but I think St Johnstone, all joking aside, did have a bit of magic about them last season, and they do have a bit of steel. Sean Rooney, what does Sean Rooney do? Is he a fullback? Is he a marauding centre half? This is a guy who scored the winner in both National Cup finals last season.
Yeah,
within like 10 into the same net, both in 1-0 wins. Within like 10 seconds, it was like 31 minutes, 50 seconds in the League Cup final against Livingston, and 31 minute, 32 minutes or something in the Scottish Cup final against Hibs. A guy he's from Bells Hill, by the way, and Eric Black, also from Bells Hill, done the same thing for Aberdeen. He scored winners in the Scottish Cup and League Cup final. But I digress, because I don't really want to talk about St Johnstone because they're horrible. And I've had this whole thing all season, which has been bearing fruit. A daft theory of mine that I prefer Rangers to play teams who are on form, domestically, especially in Scotland, because you get that feeling that teams are saving themselves for playing Rangers sometimes. I don't think they are, but it's just a kind of a subconscious thing. And it's been working out well. Hearts are on form, Dundee are on form, we beat them. St Johnstone aren't. They really aren't. And they're raging. The way they lost on Saturday, they're quite right to be raging. Aberdeen scoring with a basketball move almost, the way the guy brought the ball down with his hand before slotting it in. They've signed a chap, Jacob Butterfield, who sounds quite appropriately for this time of year. He sounds like a character name from a Dickensian novel. He's I don't know what he's going to do, but he's Jacob Butterfield. He's a midfielder, and I think he's played for every club in the English Championship, but they got him I think he's basically a free agent just now. He's been playing in the A-League. But that's an unknown factor. He's going to come in and do something for them to make up for the loss of Witherspoon. But I think they're always organised, they're always dour, they're always physical. They've got a lot of experienced players. And they've got that weird thing where their biggest goal threat is their kind of fullback, centre-half, Sean Rooney, and their goalkeeper's Andrew Clark. So I just hope it's a continuation of what we've been doing, Ross, where we've been quite common sense under Gio. Mm-hmm. The only time we haven't won is away to Lyon. Well, that's somebody you're not expected to win. Yeah. We played Dundee at Ibrox. We've run over the top of them 3-0. So I'm hoping it's a continuation of that where we win, because we need to this will be the first time we've won 3 home league games in the trot this season, and that's something we need to get going. But if it's going to go wrong for Gio, I think this is the kind of game where we could trip up. But the form we're in just now, I think it actually be difficult for us to stop. We're so kind of forward going just now. The momentum's really going to carry us through a couple of games, I think, before we actually hit any real problems.
But it's funny, isn't it? We started this season, we dropped a few points, a few more than we did last year. But we spoke about how on the whole we were still picking up wins and we were still top of the league. But we spoke about how clubs go through patches of form and patches where they're not playing so well, but they'll still scrape together some results and might drop some points here and there. And we mentioned that at some point this Rangers side is going to come good. And actually the consensus, I think, was if there's a time to come good, it's this sort of November into December into the new year run, and then take the winter break to, I guess, recuperate and go again for the second half of the season. If this is us coming good and trying to replicate the form that we showed at the first stage of last season, when we set all of those records and so many games so many games winning, other than that one draw with Livingston, so many games of clean sheets. If we can replicate that now up until the new year and the Old Firm game on the 2nd, what a strong position that puts us in to go on in the second half of the season. So I agree. It's the kind of game that I think all football fans are smart enough to go. We've beaten teams like Hearts. We've had a wonderful result against Lyon. Football fans are smart enough to know that actually the home game against the side that's bottom of the league that's only scored 9 goals all year, that's the one to worry about. But I agree, the feel-good factor that's come from Gio coming in, the way that he's setting up the team, we weren't scoring enough goals this season under Steven Gerrard. That was our main problem. We weren't scoring enough goals, and that's changed. That's absolutely changed. Yeah. But one thing that perhaps hasn't changed is that we still at times on Sunday, if we think back to Hearts, we still did look defensively fragile. In the first couple of minutes, Liam Boyce gets in and McGregor has to dig us out. Almost another Calvin Bassey own goal, a couple of other saves in the second half from Alan McGregor as well. We still at times look defensively fragile. Does that worry you coming into tomorrow night's game, or do you take some comfort from the fact that St Johnstone don't seem to be able to find the net anywhere at the moment?
Yeah, I'm worried by how unworried I am, Ross. That's the thing. I am doing that kind of counterintuitive thing of trying to think about how things can go wrong, because I feel a genuinely base level so good just now about the way we've been playing. I was hoping that was what was going to happen. What you're talking about there, hitting the form at the right time, is what was going to happen under Steven Gerrard. And before he left, we beat Ross County 4-2. We basically gave him a goal towards the end because we made so many kind of real substitutions just to get guys on, just to get, like, we played Nathan Patterson on the left and stuff like that. Yeah. And we beat Motherwell 6-1 at Fir Park. So it looked like we were kind of turning things round the corner. I think the League Cup final is just is down to the timing. I think that was the players just got themselves psychologically confused that day. They wanted to prove that it wasn't all about Gerrard, and I think they've just got themselves, kind of mixed up mentally, and it's just gone south. But just now it looks like this was the time we wanted to hit form. You always look at it, will be spoiled because of last season when we went through this whole period winning every league game. We basically got, I think it's 8 league games, 1st of December to 2nd January. We're looking at, we've won the first 3, and that's including Easter Road and Tynecastle, as you're saying, without losing a goal. I'm still trying to look at it as kind of a bit kind of mending the roof while the sun shines. We've got these points in the bag. That's fine. Yeah. Now we can maybe not afford, but it won't be as bad if we lose something at Pittodrie. Aberdeen are hitting a bit of form. They always fancy us up there. It just, apart from Celtic at Parkhead, apart from anything else, the thing that scares me most about Celtic at Parkhead, in fact, to be honest, dangerously, it's the only thing that scares me about them just now, is just the sheer weight of numbers, just the statistics. It just doesn't feel that we can go that long not losing to Celtic. I'm not even drawn with them when it counts. We've just been so good against Celtic the past couple of years. Yeah, you feel it has to come to an end at some point, and it doesn't. It doesn't have to come to an end. I think if you include the Livingston game, first game of the season, that was the 31st of July. If you want to count that as July, I think we've dropped points on average 1 game per calendar month. And I think we can afford to do that all season, and we'll win this league. But it depends on who we drop the points against. And I think if we could drop the points at Pittodrie, we're then going to go and have something to prove, and we go to Parkhead, it might end up working out well. And if we can, even if we get a draw at Parkhead, depending on how that draw is arrived at, if we're doing the equalising, if maybe we're a man down or something, then if it comes a moral victory, it's just as good. As long as we're picking up points along the way, that'll put Celtic back. That'll put them in a tailspin, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think it's this run of games is actually really dangerous, but also really encouraging. We've got 3 home games that don't look on paper anywhere near as dangerous as the ones we've already come through in Edinburgh, or the ones we've got coming up at the end of the year. But we really need to be. These are the ones I think where we earn our corn. This is where we do the work. I'd be happy with 3-1-0s, mate. But I don't think. I think our defence is. You've just got to look at it. We've lost 1 goal in Europe. We've lost 1 goal domestically in the 6 games under Gio. We went six games in a trot. We lost the first goal. We've now gone 6 games in a trot, scoring the first goal. Mm-hmm. We've never been behind under him. And I think that we've got to take that form right through these 3 home games, and then I won't be too worried if we win these 3 home games. What happens at Pittodrie or Parkhead? Yeah,
absolutely. But I think tomorrow it has the potential to be a stuffy encounter. Getting that early goal would be ideal. We'll need creativity. There's a good comment in the chat here saying that might be a game for Bacuna to start. I absolutely agree with that. I think
he was great against Leon, and his wee cameo against Leon. He's lovely.
Yeah. I agree. He played last game I was at Ibrox for. I think it was the Ross County game, Gerrard's last game. I thought he played really well there. Took his goal really nicely. Very creative player. So I agree. I think it might well be a good opportunity to get him in. I think it's we've probably rabbited on long enough about Dortmund and about St Johnstone, so we'll call it.
And I don't feel as if I have. I don't feel as if I have somehow. It's really.
Before we wrap it up, would you like? We have had a couple of answers in the chat here.
Thomas Meunier.
Thomas Meunier. Would you like to put everyone out their misery and let us know your wee fact?
Well, he scored in the 3rd, 4th place playoff in the 2018 World Cup which was the last match Belgium played in the World Cup. He scored in that game in 2018 at the Kostovsky Stadium, St Petersburg. And then the first game Belgium played in the Euro 2020 was in a 3-0 win against Russia at the Kostovsky Stadium in St Petersburg. And I think that must be the first time, it might be the first time any national team has played the last game at one major tournament in the same stadium as their first game at the next major tournament. And he certainly must be the only player to have scored in both those games. So a lot of people were noticing that Mounier was the first man ever to score against Russia in the Euros. He was the first man ever to score as a first half substitute in the Euros and the European Championship finals. But for me, it was Noyes. He's actually scored in the same stadium in a last game at one major finals, first game at next major finals. So if anybody else has done that, any other country has played those two games in the same stadium, just let me know, and I promise to shut up next time I'm on.
There we go. Well, I hope that everyone kind of enjoyed trying to figure that out. And yeah, very insightful as always. Alec, a massive thank you for giving up your evening. A big thanks as well to everyone who's joined in the chat this evening. It's very much appreciated, and thank you for giving us your time. The Gersnet podcast, as always, will be back on Sunday for our main show. I'm sure we'll try and squeeze out a wee preview on Friday as well, looking ahead to the weekend's action. Please do join us for that same time, same place. That's on the Gersnet YouTube channel, and as always, the podcast is available for download the following day. I think that's pretty much wrapping everything up for us. Enjoy the game tomorrow night, and